I'll be honest, I'm not the biggest autumn fan. Don't get me wrong, there are lovely days like this beautiful autumn like today. There's still things to be harvesting. We're getting the last of the raspberries here, chilies that are ripening in the autumn sun, but I miss the abundant days of these tomatoes and the long days spent at the allotment. So to get me through that, I focus on what I can do at this time of year, ready for spring and things to see us through the winter. There's actually lots of seeds you can be sowing now. I'm doing 5, starting with these onions, lettuces for the winter and rainbow chard, as well as some sweet peas to see us into spring. So I'll start with these sweet peas. These are a galaxy mix. They come out beautiful in the summer. They are a seed to sow now for next spring. So we're just getting a head start basically. I'm sowing them in these larger pots because they've got a long tape root, and I'm putting 3 in each pot. I have actually pre-soaked these. That's optional. I soaked them overnight. I just thought maybe it would give them a head start. Then I'm covering them and I'm actually starting them indoors to give them a head start. This is them a week later, and once they're big enough and they've got true leaves, I'll pinch out the true leaves to make them bushier next year, and I will put them in the greenhouse to see them over winter. I'll then plant them out in March. Then for my onions, I'm doing 2 types of onions, the Walla Walla and the Sturon, and I'm going to multi-sow them. So I'm putting about 8 or 9, maybe even 10 seeds into each module. I'm planting them in these larger module trays. The idea is they will grow a little bit now, then I will leave them in the greenhouse over winter. In the spring, when I plant them out, once they're big enough, kind of the size of spring onions, I will harvest about half of them and use them as spring onions, even though they're an onion, but in salads and things. It's very similar, and I will leave 3 or 4 in each set in the ground, and they will grow bigger and push away from each other. They will be happy in these sets, and this is a great way of getting more for the space you've got, because instead of 1 onion in each space, you'll have 3 or 4. I then just cover them over nicely, label them and put them in the greenhouse with the rest. Into my lettuce ones, I'm doing them in smaller module trays, and I'm just going to sow 2 or 3 to each module. This is because they've got more chance of germination in case one doesn't germinate. Hopefully the others will, and if they all germinate, I will just thin them out so I've got 1 in each module. I'll wait until they're big enough in the greenhouse, hopefully in the next month or so, or 2 months, and I will plant them outside, a greenhouse under cover. I'm going to put them outside but with a cold frame over the top of them. Lastly, I'm doing this rainbow chard. If you're not sure what it is, it's very like spinach and it's hardy, so it will do well over the winter. I probably will put it under cover for a little bit as well, at least until it's big enough. I'll start it off in the greenhouse, maybe put the cold frame over it when I first put it out, but it should be hardy enough to go over winter. You can also put it in a spot where you think you won't get too much frost, like in containers or in a sunny spot. I don't really get any frost in my garden because it's very protected, so it should be fine just there. Again, remembering to label everything, as my little helper has removed the labels. I'm now redoing them, and then I will put them in a sunny spot in the greenhouse. My little greenhouse that I've got here is great because I can move it around the garden to where I know the sun comes at best at this time of year, and then give them all of water. You shouldn't need to water them too much over winter at this time of year. So you're aiming for moist soil, not wet. So I will probably give them a water maybe once a week and check on them a few times a week to see that they've got enough moisture. Leave your little helper then to water the table and close up your greenhouse to keep as much warmth as you can in there. I also want as much light as possible, so I'm just going to trim off this little wayward branch that's come over from our neighbour's garden to make sure it's not shading my greenhouse at all. And I'm even going to give the greenhouse a little bit of a brush down. You could even give it a little, with the windows, a little wash to make sure as much light is getting in there as possible, and they should be happy there for the winter. Now you've done all your seed sowing jobs, sit back, enjoy the last of the autumn sun and look forward to spring.